Hi, Susie.
Hello, Shelley. Hi.
Morning. Morning. How are you?
Yes, good.
Am I the only one here?
You are yet? Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I thought I'd be the last.
Yeah, I suppose it's only 2 minutes past, isn't it?
It's a bit strange.
I'm
going to say, where are they? Let me just see. I'll WhatsApp the two of them.
I did just had this horrible thought a few minutes ago. I thought, oh, I haven't checked WhatsApp today. And
no,
so
I haven't either.
I put it on because I only put the the data on a couple of times a day, usually, just to check what comes in.
Where are they? Girls, line girls. Where are they?
I hope it's not a link problem.
Here they are. Are you there? Right.
On the way?
Don't know. It's weird because the two of them should be here, shouldn't they? Because they're the ones that I haven't spoken to them this week.
They've forgotten.
No, I don't think. I think they'll be so full of blooming water they won't be. They'll be rolling around.
It's a funny time of year, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
In December, things can pop up, and
yeah, but those two are not like that. They're pretty organised. I'd be the one I'm the late one. So.
Right.
So let me just call them. I've got them on a joint WhatsApp, you see, so.
Oh, that's great.
Hello, are you trying to join the Zoom?
Compute. I'm just watching my. I can see Susie. Are you logged on? I'm not on yet. I've just dashed in from shopping. Right. I don't know whether I can see Susie, but it doesn't seem to be working the way it did.
No, Teresa, we can't see you, Teresa.
Oh, let me just check.
Oh God, I think I'll start this thing again. Oh, there's Susie.
Can you see me?
No, I can see Susie.
That's funny because it's not asking me to admit you.
Oh no, this is weird. I'm on the wrong thing. I'm going to ring off and try and get me.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm here with Susie, so just link in.
Are you in the other, your own one?
Well, Teresa said she could see you.
Oh, right.
But she's going to try again. And Jane just said, I'm just going to look. I don't know, that's really strange. Maybe it's like what we did. You know, tomorrow when we have our Zoom, do I go back to the original Zoom link or to the one you sent me? The new one you sent me?
Oh, yes, we had a problem last week, didn't we?
But
I think, to be on the safe side, I will set up a completely new one-to-one link with you.
Okay. Because I was just wondering, because you did send me in the end a whole new thing, and I was wondering for tomorrow which one to do.
Yes, I think that will probably only do for one week, but I'll check. There's Teresa.
She? Where?
She should be here any minute now.
It's a bit.
Yes, it says joining.
Oh, are they? Good. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Teresa was there, but she was not with us.
That's funny. Doesn't seem to be coming in. It's still joining.
Oh, I'm so pleased it's not me.
Oh, technology is a real nuisance sometimes.
I know. And I think my light looks like it's
Oh,
orange.
Voila.
Yes, hi.
Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
Miss Jane.
can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you great. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, yes.
Perfect. That's lovely.
Where were you? We on another thing then? We on another link?
I clicked the wrong link, silly me.
Oh.
Ah,
Is Jane here?
yes, she's just
Connecting.
arrived.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Dave.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. That is amazing. I don't normally get my own picture on my laptop. So you're an IT genius, Susie. I was going to ask you to let me in on my no, I'm in on my phone as well. I'll leave that on just in case. That's why. Anyway. Whew. Sorry, I just realised at 6:08 when I was just wandering around Dunelm.
Gosh.
No.
I shouldn't have been there. Sorry, folks.
Oh, no, I did wonder if it might be the pre-Christmas sort of, fluff that goes on and sort of takes over one's life. Yeah.
A bit, yeah.
Lack of time management, really.
So how are you both? Well, how are the three of you? Because I've had a little
Cheers.
bit of a chat
Fine.
with-
Yes.
Good. Everybody's fine.
Yes, good, thank you, yes.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Is that water, Mrs. Fisher?
It is Shelley.
Cheers.
A lot of it. Although I haven't done so well today, but I will be. I will have done my 2 pints by bedtime.
Very good.
And how has this week been?
For me,
It
it's
started off well, but it hasn't ended well.
Right.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Well, a good start is a good start. That's
I had my mum here from
Did you?
Oh,
Friday to Tuesday, and I just find it's really hard. Oh, I mean, it was just so hard to try and do what I wanted to do in terms of even drinking water. It was hard because all she wants is a cup of tea and can't get her to drink water, and it was I found it much harder having her here and having to cook proper meals and things that were healthy, but I just found it harder. I just found it a lot harder and more stressful, to be honest. But anyway, I'm back on my own today, so it's fine.
Yeah.
oh.
That's
Not that I've done
understandable.
very much, but anyway, it's fine.
Mm.
And Mrs. Fisher?
Yes, I'm okay considering what's going to happen in a fortnight's time. I can't believe that it's nearly Christmas. But health-wise, yeah, I felt a bit down this week, and I don't know why. I think actually that's just pre-Christmas. I've got so much to do. Usual thing at this time of year, but I'm enjoying muesli, Susie. You'll be pleased to know I did get my muesli made, and I like it very much.
Oh, good.
And, yeah, and I've got your gingerbread recipe, but I haven't tried it yet.
This sounds like favoritism. Gingerbread, that's a lot more fun than hummus.
I asked Susie for a dairy-free so that I could do for Bibsy. I've made 24 dairy-free Yorkshire puddings today.
Wow.
Right.
Put them in the freezer. Yeah, I do find that I mean, it must be because I don't know that I'm doing anything particularly different, but this water business is helping tremendously, and I am trying not to eat too many, but I actually don't want them. Don't want the biscuits and the snacks that I I suppose I never really needed, but you just think, oh, I'm having a cup of tea, so I better have a biscuit with it. But because I'm not having so much tea and coffee, maybe a couple of cups a day. Yeah, so I'm okay. But I need to sort of get a bit more into doing some of the recipes, I think.
Yeah, I really wanted to do more with the recipes, and I just didn't because my mum was here, and
Yes.
but I will. I thank you so much. There's quite a lot. I printed them all off. Thank you.
Yes,
so,
I have.
Yeah, so I'm going to have a little file ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I realise I just don't use enough varied grains. You know, like the millet porridge and quinoa. I sort of avoid quinoa because I never know what to do with it. So
Yeah.
I find it a bit bland.
Yeah, I never have really done anything that I've enjoyed eating with quinoa. So
yes,
so
a lot of people have said that to me over the years. What do you do with it?
Yeah, I know it's got 23 essential amino acids, but even then I think
well, it's 8 actually.
Oh, is it? Oh, is
Not
it?
too much.
Right. Well, I know it's really good for you.
Yes. It's an interesting grain. I think actually I prefer it as a savoury grain, and then it is lovely. So my favourite way of having it is to use just an ounce from dried. Last night we had an ounce from dried, and then on top winter roast veg, and then topped that with a homemade hummus, and then had greens alongside. And I love it like that. I love it as a winter lunch. What I'll do is I'll soak the quinoa overnight, cook it for lunch, and then right near the end of the cooking time, I'll pop in sliced leeks and spinach and wilt them, and then dish it up into a bowl usually, actually, and stir in a dessert spoonful of light tahini, and some sun-dried tomatoes, and maybe a fresh tomato or two, and that is really lovely savoury lunch. And it's very easy, easy.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a good idea. Just savoury.
That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a book, well, with that roasting tin bookshelf,
Yeah.
and actually, I think it was the first one, and you can sort of use quinoa wherever you would use rice, can't you? Really, or bulgur wheat, or it's interchangeable, really. But that sounds a nice combination, Susie.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Or in the summer, I'll sometimes just do tomato and avocado and sun-dried tomato in with it, and that's lovely. I just am a bit of a fan of warm tahini, actually. When you stir it into something warm, it sort of goes a little bit toffee-like, and in texture. It's nice to chew.
I used to
now,
make
tahini is sesame seed or sesame seed paste?
It's ground sesame seeds, yes. Yeah. So it's a little bit like a nut butter, but it's a seed butter.
I used to make a pie with a hummus topping. Used to make a load of hummus and put it on like a vegetable cottage pie thing, and then put the hummus on and bake it, and it used to go all crispy on the top. It's really nice.
Yes. That's lovely too. Or using the hummus as a almost like a cheese sauce over a load of vegetables. And the nice thing about making your own is you can make a large enough quantity and get the right liquid sort of texture to do that. Yeah.
Have you ever made it, Jane?
What, hummus or tahini? Hummus. No.
Yeah, it's so easy. Oh my gosh.
Tin chickpeas, isn't it? Yeah.
Just discovered.
Susie
sent me a recipe, and it is just the quickest, easiest thing ever.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah. You should give it a go.
Oh. Yeah. Yes, I will. Can you freeze it? Can you freeze it, Susie?
You could, but garlic doesn't always freeze very well like that.
No.
but it will keep in the fridge for 4 to 5 days. So another nice thing to use hummus for is if you've got a veggie soup, just use, you know how you can stir cream into a soup, stir a nice big dollop of hummus in, and you get a little bit of protein in your soup, and you get a sort of like a real garlicky, sun-dried tomatoey hit, stirred in a fairly, you know, if you've got a veg soup that's a bit quiet. It's
good idea.
But
That's on my agenda tomorrow, baked butternut squash soup.
yes,
do
that
that.
would be lovely in that then. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Shelley's licking her lips. So yes, it's sort of sometimes thinking outside the box where you can get flavour and creaminess from as well. The sort of textures and flavours that you might miss if you're taking something like cheese out, because cheese is very salty, and it can add, if it's a cream cheese, for example, a creaminess. So it's thinking of something different that will add in the flavour that you want and the texture.
Good. Try that.
Making me hungry.
So this week I was going to look at blood sugar and energy,
Right.
because managing that can be really a whole adventure in itself, and make such a difference to the way that we feel. And also, one thing I will say is that the increasing amount of technology, electromagnetic technology that we have around us, they know since 1995 that the rate of diabetes in the human population has increased massively. And it's because these frequencies actually have an impact on our blood sugar.
Which frequency? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
The mobile phone frequency.
Oh, right, yeah.
And Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
And so we now have an extra disadvantage, which probably is having a larger impact even than over diet. And I must confess, this is why we only use Ethernet cables in the house. That there isn't any Wi-Fi, because it and you know, of course, mobile phone technology is exactly the same. So the research is there, but of course there's a lot of profit in this, and you're not likely to hear this from government or industry, because they don't really want anybody to know it. But the quieter an EMF environment you can have around you, the better that will be for your blood sugar metabolism. And they know, I'll just give you a little example. They've done studies where they've placed mobile phones in beehives, and within 10 minutes, the bees become motionless. And when they've taken readings of their metabolic rates from before and after, the way that the bees metabolize sugar, fats and protein has entirely been disrupted and dropped, so that the bees are no longer able particularly to metabolize sugar well. And a bee has literally the same metabolism as we do. So if you can imagine, they're absolutely tiny, and obviously it has a greater impact, but it's still having an impact on us as well. So it's just something to throw into the mix there.
Do those cases work, Susie?
What, sorry?
I think, can you get covers for your mobile phone that block out some of the...
Do you know, that's really interesting. I don't actually know. I've never tried one. Has anybody tried one?
No, oh, well, I haven't.
No, I haven't.
I've got a thing that I got from a dowsing workshop where you put these little things on your phone to stop the electromagnetic fields. I can find that for you, Teresa, somewhere.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any research on it, Shelley? You know?
Not really. No, it was just that we were talking about it when we did the dowsing workshop. We were like, obviously picking up electrical cables, and they gave out these things to protect you with your mobile phone. So
Right.
that's what it was. But I have bought a couple more for people, so I have got it somewhere, but I don't know where it is at the moment. I'll get the information. I'll remember it. I'll just write it down. I won't forget. Okay.
Oh, sorry. Everything froze there, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
You look frozen.
It's me talking about technology. I've spooked it now. Am I back to normal?
No, you look like
I'm still frozen, but you can hear me.
yes.
Yeah.
Phew. Right. Let's hope it stays that way. Right. So one thing to say about sugar is
We've lost you, Susie. Can you hear? Girls, can you hear Susie?
No, I can hear you.
yes, you lost me completely, didn't you?
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know why this is happening.
Oh, you're back, Susie. But you're still frozen.
No,
The thing to say about sugar is, and then it went.
Yes, sorry about that. Am I still frozen?
Yeah.
Oh no, this doesn't bode well, does it?
I can hear you.
You can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
The sugar is a fast-acting support, if you like, for energy. Keeps us going, and so of course the glucose in the bloodstream or glycogen is what keeps us fueled.
You've gone. Gone.
Gone.
Can you see or hear us at all?
Susie,
Yes,
we
I
can't
did.
hear you. We can't hear you, Susie.
No. Shall we all nip out for a second and come back in?
Yeah. What? Just leave the meeting.
Yes, leave the meeting. I'll stop the share.
How do we do that?
If we all jump out and come back in.
Let's have a look.
Actually, it looks like there's a problem with Zoom.
Oh, is there?
Yes, because it's saying that Zoom isn't responding. So I'm not even sure it's me.
Well, we're getting you through loud and clear now. Your picture's still frozen, but
Right.
We can hear you now.
Right, I'll try again. It says the program may respond if I wait. Right. Yes, I think this might be a Zoom problem because it's actually not the internet. So, sorry. Historically, when we used to be bush gatherers, if we found something sweet, then you could generally guarantee that it was safe, whereas a sour or a bitter food had far more likelihood of being toxic to us. And so it's one of those things as well that satisfies hunger very, very quickly. But of course, it does then throw us into a roller coaster from a blood sugar perspective. But we have a heightened perception, as it says there, for sweet food. But unfortunately, sugar itself behaves like a drug. So similarly, as to things like morphine and heroin, it behaves like an opioid in the brain, and you get a release of dopamine, which is a pleasure and reward neurotransmitter, which makes us briefly feel good. And unfortunately, that's what can make us crave it again, because it gives us a temporary lift. But the more sugar that we bring in, the opiate receptors in the brain become dulled, because they've been hit on too often, if you like, and used too often. So we tend to then go into a cycle of increased cravings. So sugar addiction and sugar withdrawal is very, very real and can be extremely uncomfortable. So sorry, I don't have a more recent figure or a figure for the UK, but they reckoned that the annual sugar intake in the US 2005 was about 36 teaspoons a day. I don't think that it was quite as bad here, but what that just gives is a nice picture when we come to talk about what the body actually can use and needs at any one given moment. So if we think about how much sugar is in your blood and needs to be in your blood for you to energetically sort of march through the day, then it is just a teaspoon in your 8 pints. So if you can imagine, you as a human being can perfectly well manage on 1 teaspoon of sugar as fuel at any one given moment in the bloodstream. Now, if we then were to drink a glass of concentrated orange juice, which can contain up to 8 teaspoons of sugars, because it's a juice, there's absolutely no fibre in that. If we eat an orange, that's a different story. But with a juice, there's no fibre in that to limit the absorption of those 8 teaspoons of sugar. So it will absorb very, very quickly from the digestive system. And once that sugar gets mobilised into the bloodstream from the digestive system, your little insulin taxi needs to dash along to store the excess sugar above a teaspoon away into the cells. And what should happen normally with a cell is that it will take up the glucose from the bloodstream once the insulin has sort of knocked on the receptors and got them to open and take up the glucose into the cell and store it. That'll be your liver and your muscle cells. And then, unfortunately, we can become more insulin resistant over the years. And the reason for that is because the higher in sugar the cell becomes, it becomes at greater risk of caramelizing, which will lead to cell death inevitably. And so the cells become more resistant. I hope that doesn't sound too grim. And what happens is that where you've got the insulin knocking on the receptor door, the cell will say, no, I don't want to take it. But then what happens is that you produce more insulin, and the insulin is not knocking on the cell door, for the receptors to take up the sugar, until inevitably the cell responds, and too much sugar then is taken up because there's a lot of insulin around, and your blood sugar then can actually drop, even though you've drunken or eaten something quite sugary. Now, does that make sense?
Which cells are you talking about? Are you talking about the liver cells doing this, or the blood?
Liver and muscle cells, yes.
Right. Okay. Right.
Now, I know that's quite a lot of information, which I've tried to show pictorially. Is that okay?
So basically, there's no control. the insulin overproduction is caused by the increase in the sugar.
Because there's too much sugar in the bloodstream.
Yeah.
Because the cells aren't responding as
Yeah.
quickly as the insulin would like them to.
Right.
Yeah, got that.
So then 60% of that sugar's dropped off at the liver and converted to glycogen to be stored. If we are active after eating something sugary, that is helpful because some of it's dropped off at the muscle cells to be used for energy. Now, if there isn't that take up from the cells, the other thing that's happening, as well as perhaps excess insulin, is that we're stimulating the production of triglycerides from the sugar, which then stores the sugar as fat. Now, unfortunately, we do not convert those back to sugar to use as energy. And that's why we gain weight. Because once sugar has converted into fat, it just causes a weight gain rather than a release of energy once we get moving.
So is that why the keto diet's so important? Well, is that why people do the keto then, because they attack the fat?
Yes, that's right. That's why that can be so useful. Yeah, because burning fat as a fuel takes a lot of breaking down and energy, a lot longer than the cycle that put it there in the first place.
So, and where do the triglycerides get stored? Where is that stored?
That's stored as fat
throughout the body.
Throughout the body,
Right.
And it can be, of course, around the organs, unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
And within the liver, I don't know if you've heard of fatty liver.
Yes, that's what I was just going to,
yeah, which is a diabetic story, really. If the liver's fatty, then someone is much more predisposed to type 2 diabetes.
Right.
So, unfortunately, there's other risks if our
Lost
insulin...
you again, Susie.
Oh, bother, because can you see me now? Oh, actually, I wonder if Jane's frozen.
Yes, she has.
Frozen yet?
Yeah.
She's in full flight with something.
We're all having we're all having a turn this evening.
I can't believe I'm okay because I have such bad reception. I think this is amazing.
Oh, are you back, Jane?
I've not been away.
No, but you froze.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've just had a thing saying my internet connection is unstable.
Oh, right.
But I didn't get any of that last thing. Since you put this last slide up, Susie, I didn't hear any of that.
That's
well, your voice was very
actually
strange. Yeah.
So you didn't miss anything. We were just wondering where you'd gone. So then you also have not only insulin, but also leptin resistance, which is to do with satiety and that kind of thing. And when that occurs, our blood pressure can raise, our cholesterol levels can also raise, and inflammation raises as well. And so they all of those three not conditions, but issues are related also often to insulin resistance.
What's
Or are connected.
leptin? Sorry, I've never. What's leptin?
Leptin is, do you know, I always come to do this presentation and I think, now, is it a hormone? It's connected with you feeling, partly feeling satiated. But what I'll do is I'll do you a little definition, proper definition. I keep meaning to put one on the slide and come back to it because it's one of those things where it's quite a recent discovery, and I'm still chalking it up in my brain cells. I'm embarrassed to admit. So I'm always happy to say, I don't know.
I've never heard of it.
I was going to say, I know I should know, but what does insulin do again?
Insulin stores sugars in the body, in liver cells and muscle cells.
Right.
In order to get it out of the bloodstream, because you only need a certain level in your bloodstream, or you get a situation where when children have been given a can of Coke and they become very busy, it's as though we've given them a can of rocket fuel, really, and they're racing around the room and perhaps becoming a little bit hyper, which is why really we shouldn't give them a can of Coke at all, ideally. And that it's because the blood sugars are too high, and people can find that if their blood sugar remains too high, they can feel a bit sort of hyper themselves. And then they get probably a massive crash after that because the blood sugar's gone too low. So we've already said excess sugars converted to triglycerides and stored as fats. So unfortunately, one of the things that's really important to mention is that, particularly with heart disease, is that sugar actually causes inflammation of arterial walls, which has a particular impact in the heart. Because you get that insulin spike, it starts to ravage the endothelial lining, which is very fragile lining of the blood vessels, and that gradually causes more and more inflammatory mayhem. So you end up with the heart attack or the stroke, because what your body will do to repair that is start to layer down cholesterol over it. So like a cholesterol plaque will be used to repair it. And so the thing about the sort of conventional view of cholesterol is that too high cholesterol will cause heart disease. But there's been a picture or a story before that that has led to the laying down of the cholesterol in the arteries. Now, unfortunately as well, on a daily basis, your cells produce waste in their metabolism called free radicals, and your body produces enzymes that neutralize those free radicals. And additionally, if you have a nice level of antioxidants in the body, such as vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, those also mop up some of your free radicals, and anything that's oxidized basically in the body will be akin to a free radical. And unfortunately, what happens is that when you eat sugar, it lowers the amount of minerals you need to make your enzymes. Now that happens because when we eat sugar, oh bother, have I gone again?
No, you're fine.
Oh, phew, because I've got a connection unstable as well now. Goodness knows what's going on with the internet this evening. You start to excrete calcium and magnesium from the kidneys. That's what sugar makes you do. it puts a stress on your kidneys particularly, and you excrete calcium and magnesium. So those minerals are not then available to produce the enzymes that you need to neutralize your wastes, and you get a free radical buildup in the body. Now that causes your oxygen to the cells to lower, and Otto Warburg discovered as far back as the 1920s that cells become cancerous when 35% of the oxygen is removed from their environment. So we're creating an environment in the body with sugar, which is very, very acid forming, very demineralizing. And if you can imagine, if you're excreting magnesium, you're lowering the levels that you need to have available to the heart, because you use 18 times more magnesium to relax your heart muscle than any other muscle in the body. And you're lowering the amount of calcium in the body, which of course is hardening your teeth and your bones.
Does that also then sort of contribute to osteoporosis?
Yes, sugar is a big part of the picture. Yes,
because that's such an increasing thing, isn't it, now with hormonal women, that you know, the osteoporosis is such an issue.
Yes, that's right.
It's so interesting, isn't it, how it something so simple but so dangerous.
Yeah, well, we're told that what's happening is that we haven't got enough calcium.
Yeah.
But of course, one of the reasons we haven't got enough calcium is we're displacing the calcium because of the sugar.
And if calcium goes into, you know, calcified, even in the breast, you can have calcified. Is it DCIS?
Ductal carcinoma in situ. That's right.
It is,
yes. Yeah, we can calcify pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
So if it's coming off the bone and then dumping elsewhere, that's when we start to get an issue.
So Susie, if we stopped the bad habits which cause us to have too much sugar, can we reverse any damage done, or just stop it getting any worse?
Well, certainly, you start to create more of an environment in the body where your bone can increase its mass properly, because the environment is right. So did we talk about a tooth in a glass of Coke?
No.
Before. If you think about a tooth in a glass of Coke, so it's very, very sweet, it's very, very acid. If you pop a tooth in a glass of Coke overnight, the next morning it'll have dissolved.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I've never tried, but this is what I'm told.
Right.
And so it's almost thinking of your own bones. If your own bones are sitting in that kind of environment, then they're not going to be as stable as they are when you create a more alkaline environment in the body that the cells, the tissues, the organs, the bones like to sit in. Then you are going to be able to remineralize everywhere that should have those minerals. One of the things that I've found difficult, certainly over the years, is where people come with something like arthritic nodules on the joints, toes, fingers, bunions. Very often those things are so hardened that I certainly haven't come across a client where we can change that, but we can stop it getting worse.
So the relationship of oxygen to the sugar, you know how you're saying sugar's affecting the amount of oxygen in our cells, basically.
Yes, because of the free radicals, because you're partly using the oxygen to help clear the wastes from the body. And
how do you measure the oxygen?
Anyone that's not getting it.
Sorry?
I'm not getting very much. I'm not getting much sound at the moment. Am I the only one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you two
Can
okay
everybody
to? Can
hear?
you hear what Susie's saying?
Yes, and I can hear you clearly, Jane, but
You keep going like that, and then coming back. It's a bit weird.
I'm so sorry.
Don't worry, because I've got. Oh,
Jane's frozen.
Oh, Jane's frozen. I wonder if it's the internet connection at Jane's end as well.
Let me just go and open some doors. Am I back
Yes.
again? I'm just
Yeah.
opening the doors. Sometimes it's help.
Yes, maybe that'll help. Oh, my internet connection's unstable now. Seem to be taking it in turns.
Tit and Lyle don't like what you're doing, Susie, that's it.
But is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
There.
Right.
Am I back now?
Yes, you are.
Hello,
Yes.
Jane.
That's great. Can you hear everybody too?
Yes.
Lovely. So sorry, did you ask me a question, Jane?
No.
No. Did I answer the question about oxygen?
Yes, you did. Because I was just reading an article this week from the guy from the Finchley Clinic. I don't know if you know that guy.
I have heard, yes.
Yeah. Did you read it? And basically he had a sort of a really bad flu episode in the night. So he got up and he took a real overdose of oxygen drops,
Right.
and with some lemon juice and water, and basically he with supplements, and I'm sure he does a load. But it was just interesting about oxygen drops and how he alkalized his system, because the inflammation obviously was in his system. And I just think it's really interesting when you see that sort of percentage of oxygen that's removed from your, from your cells. There's a lot we can do quite simply, isn't there, really, apart from.
There is, yes. I mean, typically one of the recommended protocol alternatively for cancer now is oxygen therapy.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And because it's so important to help handle the free radicals. I think also many of us, and I know I am, are guilty of not breathing properly a lot of the time, because I'm busy and talking. And yeah, I think that happens a lot. And so
There's me.
we were mentioning about calcium and magnesium excretion. So the body then takes calcium from the bones, contributing to osteoporosis. And as it says there, you wouldn't think it, but just 2 teaspoons of sugar can disturb our pH and our mineral ratios and just throw them out for a while. So, if what might be really interesting, if you have some things around, is to look at the levels of carbohydrates in things and then have a look at the levels of sugars, because it might sort of surprise you. I know when Naked Bars first came out, and I thought, oh, something natural, and I sort of I thought, how nice, and I bought one and ate it, and then I looked at the packet after I'd eaten it, and I thought, oh my God, 4 teaspoons of sugars. That's a lot. I was really surprised. But so, after that, I tended to, if I bought one, I would break a quarter off and then put it away and have that another time, because it's a lot. It's
So, sorry, Susie, what was that you bought and ate?
A Naked Bar. They're like a little fruit
yes,
nut
yes,
bar.
yes. Yeah,
It just
that you would automatically think.
calories.
Yeah.
That's it. You would automatically think they'd be quite natural, but well, they are very natural, but it's surprising. And of course, I should have thought, because even if you compare a grapefruit has a glycemic load of 5, and one date has a glycemic load of 10.
Oh my God.
So that's the sugar hit. It's so much bigger, but it's tiny. But a date is a lovely treat.
But one won't do it. You need at least.
You buy them in packets and you eat them in packets. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Often at Christmas, I will be given a pack of, really nice medjool dates, because they know that I don't eat chocolates, and so somebody in the family will often give me a box of those. So now the other thing is that your adrenals are so crucial to your sugar metabolism. And so one of the things that I could mention is that overnight, while you're asleep, you're producing melatonin, and that's helping you stay asleep. And then your adrenal glands start to produce, as the melatonin levels go down, as the light signal starts coming in and wakening the body up, your adrenals start producing cortisol to help you have enough energy to wake up with. Now, what you might find really interesting is that if you get up when you wake up, what you'll often find is that the energy is there and you can feel it and you feel really, really awake. But if you say, nah, not getting up now, I'm going to turn over and go back to sleep. If you then leave it for another hour, your blood sugar will have dropped and you can feel quite groggy on waking. Does anybody find that?
That's it. So I don't often do that, but I did that one day last week and I felt awful.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
So there's that first waking time. You actually feel, awake now. Jump out of bed ideally. And there's that second waking time, which is, so that's really because you've stored the sugar again that was produced by the cortisol, and your body hasn't, gone through that mechanism again that it does naturally when there's that switch over between melatonin and cortisol. And so the thing is about sugar and it dipping, or some people also do that thing where they don't eat their breakfast. And if you miss your breakfast, where you mechanically get the blood sugar back up, you've used the sugar produced by the cortisol, or released from the liver and muscles by the cortisol, and you would start to dip, but you have your breakfast and you're digesting and releasing carbs from that. And what happens is that you keep it going steady. And are we all okay with the signal?
Yeah.
Yes.
Lovely. What you're relying on then, when your blood sugar dips again, is you start to rely on your adrenal glands to compensate for you not eating. So this is what happens if we miss lunch. We're relying on our adrenal glands overcompensating for us. And that is very stressful for the adrenal glands. And gradually, if we constantly rely on that, then we start to burn out. It's one of the ways that we're overusing our adrenal glands, because you're relying on them to keep your blood sugar steady. And when you think about the jobs that they have to do anyway, they're regulating sodium and potassium in your body, keeping it balanced. They're regulating your blood pressure, keeping that balanced ideally. They're helping regulate your sugar metabolism for sure. But also they are needing to produce cortisol, adrenaline, and also involved in the secretion of your steroid hormones for things like periods and you know, testosterone and so on and so forth, and they are well, I could probably mention about 50 other tasks, but that will do for now. They're very, very important ones. So you know, when we're relying on them to manage our blood sugar, we really are stressing them out, and they are our stress glands. So it's not a good scenario.
So,
And sorry, Teresa.
no, I was just going to say, so sugar plays an enormous part in cancer, because there you just talked about the sex hormones. So you've got like your estrogen, you know, involvement in cancer, in some cancers, and just the whole business that you've just been talking about.
Well, I think the unfortunate thing is that when we are stressed for a long period, we contribute to a situation where, because it's not the actual hormones, it's the steroids that are needed to make them, if that makes sense.
No.
Let's hop back. So you, it's the corticosteroids that it's actually producing. So it's not the actual sex hormones, but it's part of the building blocks that are needed for producing them. Because obviously estrogen is produced by your ovaries, but it's having the building blocks to do that, and that's what your adrenals are involved in. They also help you, for example, produce corticosteroids that help against pain, if there's pain in the body anywhere. Your adrenals are involved in that.
You never hear, medically, you never hear people really talk about adrenal glands, do you? They don't really mention, you don't ever hear people think, I've got a problem with my adrenal glands. They just say something else, but it's obviously it's so important, and they're only little glands, aren't they?
They're tiny.
Yeah.
They're sitting on top of your kidneys, which aren't massive. Yeah,
Yeah.
tiny little things. And it's, I mean, you probably have heard of adrenal exhaustion that some people suffer from, which is connected to conditions like ME and CFS as well. And so when you exhaust them, you are exhausting a resource in the body that helps you stay energetic, and it's the adrenal exhaustion is part of other conditions. So it's never one thing that will really that will contribute to a condition in the body. There are lots of other factors as well. So it's a factor in allergies like hay fever, which is, you know, and allergies like hay fever and asthma can be particularly connected to blood sugar drops. And not a lot of people realise that. So
when you look at that list, you can sort of tick, you can go through and think, oh, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what is CSF? CF?
Chronic fatigue syndrome.
Oh,
so
sorry.
an ME type picture. No, it's fine. Please do ask, because it just, I couldn't fit the full thing on the slide, Jane.
And obviously Candida is so
Yes.
sugar balance. It's a whole sugar thing, isn't it? That
Absolutely, yes. So, and really, one thing to think about is that any time we eat sugar, we increase the fungal and bacterial load in the body, because the sugar feeds our bad bacteria and anything fungal that's going on in the body. I hope this isn't too depressing, she says, looking at depression on this.
No,
Utterly depressing.
I just think, you know, it's so easy to let sugar slip into what you do because,
Yeah.
you know, it's so good to talk like this because it makes us look at it again. And it's so easy sometimes just to add a bit of maple syrup or think you're doing a good thing. But obviously,
Yeah. Yeah.
tastes nice.
Yes, and you tend to think, oh, don't take sugar in any drinks, so I don't have it. But you know, sugar is
Everything.
everywhere, isn't it?
It creeps in. It does. Yes.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it has an enormous effect on immunity. So you can see there, you're relying on your white blood cells to engulf the bacteria that are, you know, proliferated by eating sugar for 6 hours after eating it. And so the drain on the, you know, the immune system is huge from sugar. And certainly makes us more prone to perhaps colds and etc. So headaches and migraines, this I always love because your brain needs a constant supply of glucose. And so if you can imagine, if we get a drop in our blood sugar, what happens then is that reduces the level of sugar that's able to travel up to the brain. And so in order to maintain that constant sugar level, because your brain will be using it for memory, for concentration, for focus, what happens is that if this is the blood vessel normally, the body will widen the blood vessels or blood volume, sorry, that's going up to the brain, which will push sides of the blood vessels out wider, which then push onto the nerve endings in the brain. And that is what contributes, first of all, to any pain in the head, crushing against those nerve endings, but also it can affect the visual cortex around the eyes. And that's when we start to get the light disturbances, or maybe even vision in the eye shutting down completely. It can affect hearing, so sometimes it's the auditory system that goes down, and for some people they can even get a kind of temporary paralysis or weakness or numbness in the nervous system, because the entire nervous system can be affected by the drop in sugar in the brain, causing the blood vessels to carry a greater volume and widen. So you may have come across people who suffer. We've mentioned a little bit about allergies. When the blood sugar drops, unfortunately, it makes us more prone to, because, you know, there's a lot more free radicals floating around, there's a lot more bacteria, there's a lot more fungal activity. Any allergens then that are coming in from outside will contribute to that toxic load, which can cause, and there'll also be a dehydration with, this is something I haven't mentioned actually, which is that eating sugar is very, very drying, because your body has to dilute it to a degree. And so then, you know, that water is being used to dilute the sugar rather than steady your blood sugar and access what you know, store what you need in cells, access from what you need in the cells. And also, when you're dehydrated, as we've said already earlier, you start to produce more histamines. So the more sugar that comes in, the drier you are, the more histamines you produce from the mast cells, the more prone you are to an allergic reaction. Is that too much information again all at once?
How do you then maintain an adequate glucose supply to the brain?
The best thing to do, if you get a headache or a migraine, if you're someone who gets, for example, the flickering lights, is to drink a pint of water as soon as you can, pint of warm water. With the allergies, the same thing, get a pint of water down, and that way I know it's a lot of water to offer the body at once, but it will help give a starting point for rehydration, because you'll quickly increase blood volume with water.
Right.
That's interesting. My daughter Catherine has asthma and allergies, eczema, that kind of thing. Nothing like as bad now that she's sort of in her 20s as when she was a child. But sometimes she says, "Oh, I've got a headache," and then she say, "Oh, it's nothing. It's probably just because I haven't been drinking enough." And I used to think, "What do you mean not drinking enough? That's not going to give you a headache." But
Right.
she must have just instinctively worked it out.
Yes, she could feel how dry maybe she felt. Yes, yeah.
Interesting.
Also, I don't know if anybody ever wakes between 3 to 5 in the morning.
Oh, me.
Right. That is the time when our adrenals actually have a rest, and it can be because of that, because the blood sugar is managed overnight by the adrenals as a background. It can be our blood sugar lowest point between those 2 hours, and that can wake us up if it's gone quite low. So a good point again to drink some water if you're finding you've woken up. Yes, so avoiding food allergens, avoiding external allergens, not always as easy as it sounds, but managing hydration, managing blood sugar, avoiding food allergens can help both of them as well.
When you talk about food allergens, do you mean the way we hear about some people are allergic to wheat, dairy and that kind of thing?
That's right, yes. And things like, strangely, oranges and or corn. There can be all kind of food allergens. Soy can be an allergen for some people. Now, just to look at artificial sweeteners, I always have a look at these because there have been a lot of studies done on sweeteners. Unfortunately, usually on the quiet. Manufacturers often have to pay for the studies, and they unfortunately come out with a bias. But if they are not paid for by the manufacturers, you start to see the true results. Aspartame obviously is a really common one, and what they know is that aspartame, if it's consumed, breaks down to a wood alcohol in the liver. Have I already said this? No. And from the wood alcohol breakdown, it then breaks down into formaldehyde. So it's almost like we're preserving the body from the inside. And in fact, there was a young lad who worked in the aspartame, was it NutraSweet factory, I think, who died at the age of 21 after working in the factory for some time. And when they did an autopsy on him, they found that he had the liver of someone who'd been drinking quite heavily for several years. And they came to the conclusion that it was the breakdown of the wood alcohol that he'd been inhaling while he was working. Gosh. That contributed to the situation of his death. There must have been other factors, I think, but that was one of them. So, for example, saccharin, I believe they know that that causes bladder cancer. They each have particular cancers that they'll contribute to, but aspartame is pretty, and neotame are both pretty horrible and can contribute from a range of, things from headaches ranging right through to brain cancer. They're pretty horrible.
How can that be regulated then? Because they're in everything. They're in lots of things to pick up, and yet how's it been approved?
Yes, I don't know. Is the honest answer, except for this.
What about stevia?
Yes, that is possible to use. It doesn't have the same effect quite. But what I would suggest to you is that as soon as any sweet taste hits the tip of the tongue, which is where we start to notice sugar in the body, we start to produce insulin. And one thing I can say to you about insulin is that it not only stores sugar, it also stores fat. And so if you were to have, a drop-off from Ocado or Tesco's or something into your kitchen, all these shopping bags come in, and if if insulin was stood there in the kitchen like a little stick insect, and you said, oh, just put the shopping away, will you, love, it would put away the sugar and the fat that we had eaten, if you like, if that's the equivalent, if you see what I mean. So one of the things that we've probably mentioned slightly is that in order to access sugar from the cells, we need to have hydrated cells, we need to have hydrated body fluids, because then we're much more likely to be able to keep the blood sugar steady, simply because we're able to access it from the stores we already have inside the body. And I've already mentioned that excess sugar is magnesiuretic. Now, we've said that magnesium relaxes the muscles. It also relaxes our blood vessels. So if we're deficient in magnesium, it can contribute to high blood pressure, because the blood vessel walls are contracted with lack of magnesium. So it's another good reason why, as well as our muscle relaxation, we don't want to be excreting magnesium, because it will be contributing to a raising of blood pressure. So blood pressure is not only regulated by hydration, it's also regulated by our mineral status. Thinking about omega-3, anytime we consume fat, actually, along with carbohydrates, anytime we consume protein along with carbohydrates, they release from the stomach much more slowly, and that means that any sugars will be releasing into the bloodstream much more slowly, which means that we slow the rate at which a whole meal leaves the stomach. And if you just sort of consider particularly omega-3 fats, they are very, very supportive in helping manage our blood sugar, regulate our blood sugar. So some of our prostaglandins that we make from omega-3 will help us regulate blood sugar. So just a small thing to think about, and I know we probably have mentioned it already, but to maybe think about for lunch this week, sort of keeping carbs to a minimum, and how you could do protein and veg, or some fat and protein and veg. So there's a few sort of little examples there. I'll just get rid of this.
Did anybody see anything?
No. What
No.
was- what are we? I can hear music.
Oh, no, that's my phone ringing in the kitchen. It'll stop in a minute.
I can
John's just taken Trixie out, so there's no one to answer it.
Sounds like we've lost Susie, have we?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, I think we have. We lost you, Susie. Ah. Oh,
It's us three.
hello, girl.
Hi. Well, bloody hell. And you know,
Well.
I eat so much more sugar than I
Kelly, this has
used to.
been recorded. You just watch this.
Well,
I know. It just shows you, doesn't it?
it's so interesting how
Yeah.
everything connects, isn't it? And
Yeah.
God,
Mm,
You know what?
I bet they're
Yeah.
not doing this in medical school.
We don't.
no,
Um,
the
But
things
you
you
know
don't get to know because big business lose too much money, and and you think, I mean, all her life, my mother, or as far as I can remember, took saccharin in her tea and coffee.
Yeah, thinking she was doing it.
Sweetex.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't want to gain weight. And then what did she get in the end? She got a sort of blood cancer.
Yeah.
So you do, as did my dad. But and he used to have Sweetex in his drinks as well.
but doesn't this make you
Just shows you.
doesn't it make you realise that any of our little problems or big problems, we brought them on ourselves? Oh, there's Susie.
Wonder if she wants us to go in again.
Susie? Hi, Susie.
I'm so sorry, it crashed completely
Right.
as I tried to stop the chair.
Oh.
And then
Oh, you can all see it. Okay.
Okay. We're all here.
I think I've got.
Oh God.
Should we cross? Should we close?
Because I had my phone on as well.
Should we close it down on the screen on the computer or anything?
She's on WhatsApp.
I was going to say, it's good.
Was she on WhatsApp? I'm going to get her back again.
I can't hear you. Oh, great.
Meeting. I'll put a little message in the chat here.
Okay.
If we're going to next week early, and that's early.
Okay, no problem.
Here.
I'll go back.
So what?
We're all here, but what's that noise?
Shall I come out of this meeting on my laptop and go into WhatsApp, or is Susie still there?
I've just closed that down because it was so noisy.
Yes, I am. Sorry. I'll put a message in this chat box on WhatsApp, and hopefully we'll be able to get back in. I'll cancel.
Oh.
Hello?
So
Is she cancelling this meeting?
I've lost Susie on WhatsApp.
Yeah, I just sort of dropped her off WhatsApp because it was making so much noise.
Yeah, I think maybe if we come out of the Zoom meeting
Hang on,
and go into WhatsApp.
Please go back into link and hopefully it will open. But I've still got the link up. Or do we-
Oh, okay.
So should we leave the meeting and go back into it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to see if I can
I
leave.
can't. Where does it say leave?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, you're there. Oh, you're there. Hi.
Oh yeah.
lovely. Oh, so we've just lost Jane.
Yes, I think she's coming back.
Right, lovely.
Gosh, that was weird.
It was. Goodness me.
Come on. Come on. Where is Jane?
Aha, there we are. That's great. Oh, that's good that we can come back in when it's Spanish like that. Right. Hello.
And I'm not there, am I? Oh, I am.
Hi.
Right. And any questions about?
But Teresa was just saying when we lost you is so much of what we suffer from is just self-inflicted.
Yes, that's a good and unfortunate way of looking at it sometimes, isn't it? Yes.
Not realistic.
Yes, yes.
I mean, this business that of lunch this week, Susie. So we're going to try and have like salad or something of that ilk. So high protein and lots of veg. You see, I find that I am better when I keep off bread. When I don't have bread at
Absolutely.
all,
Yes.
I have more energy.
Yes, yes. That's so common.
You know,
yes.
and if I didn't have to have bread for the other inhabitant of the household, it would be great.
Yeah.
But you know, so I will try. I will doubly try. I don't. Yeah, it isn't a problem that, but see how much difference it makes.
Yes. I'll just throw some sort of thoughts in the mix. So something like a poached egg on top of a mashed avocado with some tomatoes. If you wilt spinach in a pan. Oh, have you lost me?
No.
No, you're there.
Right, sorry. Wilt spinach in a pan. Or steam it from frozen if that's easier some days, you know, if you haven't got fresh in a little olive oil, perhaps even a little few slices of garlic, then make a little nest in the middle and pop the egg in the middle there, and because warm is nice just now, really nice.
Yeah.
Soups are fabulous, but have them maybe with a little green bowl. So a bit of rocket, a bit of watercress, a bit of lettuce, something like that. Just a little hit of raw. To do things like a fish of some kind on top of, salad, or just lightly steamed greens of some sort. With your soups, things like if you eat chicken, if you've had a chicken on a weekend, to take all the meat off it, you know, maybe even freeze some of it or use it in other dishes, but to throw the carcass into a pot with onion, carrot, garlic and so on, and cook that up and get a good bone broth from it. Throw some of the chicken back in and have a chicken soup. Lentil soups are nice and easy, like your butternut squash soup. To get some protein in there, drain a can of kidney beans or cannellini beans, packed in water, throw those in, or get the hummus hit stirred in the top of the soup, so that it keeps you going a bit longer. Whereas the squashes make absolutely fabulous soups at this time of year. And wedges as well. Make a lovely hot, a wedge as a complete alternative from something like potatoes. You could do for an evening meal, roast a squash in wedges and then have a sort of sauce with it, and some greens, wilted spinach or steamed broccoli, something like that. They really are delicious done like that. And yes, sorry, shall I stop talking and let you get a word in?
No, it's interesting. So we're trying to cut the carbs down this week. That's the idea. Trying
to cut the carbs down at lunch. Yes,
at lunch.
And obviously things like pulses do have some carbs in them. If you have those as a soup, a lentil soup, or just trying to think of when you add them to a soup, but there is that protein there as well. And you can always bump up fat content, for example, where you have added an avocado in to a lunch, like we were saying about the egg, like we were saying about the quinoa, where you've got the protein from the quinoa, you've got the fat from the avocado, and you've got some fat and protein from the tahini. It's lovely. Now, would you prefer that when I email out, I sort of email a list of suggestions?
Lovely. Thank you.
Yeah, lovely.
Is there anything else you'd like to ask me for? Because I mean, obviously there'll be the recording, which hopefully will be all intact, hopefully, and because it's just the computer recording me, and also the slide handout and the handouts for this week, and I'll do that lunch list as well.
Thank you.
Oh, that's lovely.
Thank you. That's really helpful.
Yeah. So the packet of oat cakes that I bought for myself last week to have with peanut butter, I can't have this week, can I?
Well, that's the thing, that an oat cake, a couple of oat cakes with lunch is very different than a couple of slices of toast. Because there's going to be, firstly, the oats are high in beta glucans, and so they're much more helpful for keeping the blood sugar steady. And it's also the quantity of carbohydrate that you're taking in that will make a difference as well. So oats are very, very different than wheat, and we will have a look at wheat and why it has a bigger impact on the body than just the fact that it's a carbohydrate.
Oh, that's good. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Good.
Is that probably enough information for?
Yeah, no, it's been really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating. It's just doing it.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's just a little bit each day, a little bit every week is what makes the difference.
And Jane, when you say how Henry needs his Gaviscon.
Oh yeah.
When you think, why do they need that?
Well, I was telling Susie in our one-to-one shell.
Yeah.
Des has been put on a drug now for her indigestion. What is that thing that you mentioned, Susie? Yeah, and the drug, I forget what it is, but it's got that configuration in its name, and that's and now she's completely free of she obviously wasn't making the right substance in her body, and probably isn't drinking enough water either. And that's the pot calling the kettle black, I know, but anyway, she's a lot better now, and yeah, haven't heard from him this morning, you know, about his indigestion. But it is interesting. Yeah.
Mm.
And they're so young, and yet
Yeah.
they're relying on things that we know of
Yeah.
not good for them, really.
No.
That, you know.
No. But yeah.
We'll have to lead by example, girls.
Oh.
Next. Oh.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, it's been really interesting, Susie. Oh, John's decided to hoover now.
Lucky you. That's all.
Hey, that sounds good. I like the sound of that, Jane.
I think the dog's probably brought in some mud, but sorry about the noise.
It's really interesting, and it's just eye-opening. It's, you know, we sort of know it, you know, we know really, but we don't really know why we shouldn't, and it's really interesting.
So when you say you don't eat chocolate, Susie, do you eat dark chocolate at all, or not?
I can't actually.
Oh, right.
I'm unfortunately one of these people that comes from a family background that is sensitive to both wheat and dairy, and it seems to go right through each generation. And I'm unfortunately very sensitive to caffeine and that family. And
Right.
so if I were to eat chocolate, what happens is that I lay there awake in bed like this. And I hate not sleeping. So I don't eat it because it's one of those things where, you know, if something creates symptoms that are more uncomfortable than the pleasure I would get from eating it, then I'm just not bothered about going there.
No, that's true.
So quite unusual, but
so you know, I mean, it is the season of eating chocolate, unfortunately. But and dark chocolate, you know, with the you know, more percentage of cocoa in, that seems, you know, you can have a little square of that and feel more satisfied, or you can think, oh, I can't eat any more of this. Whereas, you know, a tin of roses, most
lots
of us
sugar
our way through. Yeah, but can you get a sort of, you know, from dark chocolate, can you get that boost to the blood sugar too?
Well, it depends on the sugar content. But certainly, generally speaking, there is a lot less, and sometimes none. Sometimes it is literally just the dark chocolate. And I think one of the things about chocolate, one of the reasons it's so pleasurable to people, is that it's high in magnesium. So there you see, I've told you something good about chocolate. But of course, when it's diluted with milk, that is diluted as well. And then you add sugar and you're going to excrete the magnesium that you've eaten out anyway. But yes, with a piece of dark chocolate, you are getting some magnesium.
Sorry, John's hoovering the kitchen now.
Oh well.
I did that to him when he was in a council meeting. They'd be held to pay. Sorry about that, girl.
Probably knows bad news is going to come in a minute when you open it.
Yes.
You know what the menu is for the rest of the week.
Resistance is loud.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Thank you, Susie.
We will come back to chocolate because it is interesting, and particularly when we talk about essential fatty acids, we'll come back to chocolate.
Righty ho.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Susie.
I'll look forward to seeing you in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
See you Friday, all being well. Yeah.
See you soon.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Take care, girls.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.